Oh,
You right?
yes, because it's gone into recording straight away.
Oh, has it? Oh,
Just said recording in progress.
oh, that's okay. We'll have to. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the line. Please feel free to say hi and where you're dialing in from today. It's great to see everybody coming on the line. Just letting you know we're recording from the very beginning, so we'll edit all this out with no problems at all if you're going to listen to this on the podcast. Welcome, everyone. So great to see you all. Hi from Adelaide, Teresa. Great to see you. Sunny here in Melbourne, which is nice. Sunny in East Gippsland. That's good to hear, Jeanette. Welcome along.
We've had rain in Perth, which it's sort
Oh,
of like the first real wintry week, I think.
oh, right. Yeah, that's unusual.
Yes.
Well, it's wonderful to see everybody. And yes, we'll be starting the webinar in just 1 minute. So feel free to say hi, tell us where you're dialing in from. It's great to see everybody coming on the line. Hello, down the road. Yes, we've got a nice bit of sun happening at the moment in Melbourne. It's very good. Sunny around regional Victoria. Boring old Newcastle. Just another sunny day in Newcastle for you, Greg. Oh, I loved it. My time in Newcastle a couple of weeks ago was wonderful. All right, wonderful to see everyone coming on the line. Shukmund, you're coming from down the road in Melbourne. Lovely to see you again. Missing a few of our international guests. Hopefully they join us soon. Alrighty. Well, I think we're right on time, Paula. So if you're okay, I think we'll get started.
We can. Madison's just jumped on from KL. There you
Oh,
go. There's our
it comes out.
international
It
component.
comes out. Where's our New York and our Tokyo and Singapore? We've got Kuala Lumpur. That's great. Oh, we're missing all our international friends today. Not to worry. Alrighty. Let me just move a couple of things out of the way here. Ah, there we go. Mark joined us. Kentucky, USA has joined us. Excellent. Great to see you. Welcome to the line. We're worried about where all our other international friends were, so wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to bear with me because we're using a new Zoom account. So just bear with me as we kind of get our act together. We have tested it and we're delighted it's working, aren't we, Paula? So,
We are.
alrighty, let's go. And pop the chat box out of the way now as well. So we'll pick up the chat as we go along, but we just need to move a couple of things around. Alrighty. Right, we're right on time. Let's go. Well, it's a very good morning, a good afternoon for some of you, and a good evening for some of you, wherever you are listening to this coaching cafe, either live or on your favorite streaming service. Hello, my name is Dr. Natalie Ashdown, and I'm joined on the line. Welcome back to you, Paula. We haven't seen you for a little while, Paula Jones Hunt.
Lovely to be here. Lovely to be back.
Absolutely. And for anyone that didn't catch Paula and Bridget's coaching cafe on the MCC and PCC ICF exams, please pick that up from our blog. There's so many great pieces of information that Paula and Bridget have shared. Today, our focus is beyond the headlines. We are looking at the 2026 Gallup State of the Global Workplace Report, and we want to go beyond the headlines and think about what is it really telling us. So with that in mind, before we begin, let's acknowledge the tradition traditional owners, the custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today, and their continuing connection to the land, waters, and communities of Australia and the lands from all around the world, which you might be joining us from today, either live or on your favourite streaming service. We pay our respects to them, their elders past, present, and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. Well, our topic of conversation today is a deeper dive into the 2026 Gallup State of the Global Workplace Report. And with that in mind, we want to go, as I mentioned, beyond the headlines and think about a coaching approach to engagement as well. For those of you that are new, we say welcome to the cafe. We are all about creating shared learning experiences, having thought-provoking conversations, and you can interact with us via the chat box. For those of you that are new, including all of our international listeners and people from all around the world, we're welcoming you. Welcome back. You know, we love coming together at this time, and I know that many of you are listening at all hours of the day and the early morning and the night. So we really acknowledge you and we're grateful for your participation. Of course, if you are interested in your ICF continuing coach education units, and the points for that, then that will be available at the end of our coaching cafe if you are listening to this live. Well, Paula, let's go. Let's have a look at what's going on here. So for those of you that are new and haven't been tracking the Gallup State of the Global Workplace report for as many years as I have, I just do not even know, maybe even from the beginning I've been tracking this report. Let me share with you that the survey has been conducted since 2005. It covers now more than 160 countries worldwide. This year's survey included 263,810 people. And those people that were surveyed, 260,000 odd people, are asked 12 questions, and there's 12 items in what's called the Q12. Gallup's Q12, there's 12 items that are included as workplace indicators of engagement. And if anyone is interested, you can go to gallup.com. The link is there on the slides, and feel free to pick it up from our blog or simply just Google search or search on Gallup Report 2026 and it will come up, and you can download the entire 300-page report. In that report, different countries are separated out. So if you are thinking about your country and want to specifically look up engagement scores and the different indicators across your country, just go into the report, type in your country, and you can pick up your country. Of course, I have separate, the good news is for Australian and New Zealand people listening, previously Australia and New Zealand was categorized with Oceania. And now this year, Australia and New Zealand has been separated out, which is great news because we can look at statistics specific to our countries. As I mentioned, if you're listening across the world as you are, simply Google search your country and you will see your statistics. So that's a little bit about the report, just to bring us all on the same page. And I can tell you that every year about this time, the report was released just last month, but every year about this time, I'm kind of waiting. I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm like, oh, what does the Gallup report tell us? What's the Gallup report going to tell us this year? And you know, for those of you that know me, I am the optimist. I am, about positivity and coaching and engagement and the difference we can make. And every year, I hope that what we have done as a global community and a global collective in terms of coaching has made a difference on the engagement scores. Now, of course, engagement scores are going to be influenced by so many more things than coaching, but I live in hope that every year the scores are going to increase in terms of engagement. Well, Paula, guess what? They have not. So, for those for those of you who just one more thing to share with you, they have not increased the global engagement scores, but just to let you know what we're talking about, engagement is measuring the psychological attachment that workers have to their work, their team, and their employer. And there is, statistically speaking, over many, many years, a very strong relationship between employee engagement and all the business indicators that we want to follow as business leaders, including business unit productivity. So we're talking decrease in absenteeism, a decrease in stress. We're talking about increase in productivities, increase in customer service satisfaction. So many of the metrics that employers are tracking, engagement is linked to those. Paula, the global headlines are screaming that employment engagement continues to slump. The 2025 engagement, that the global employee engagement declined for its second year to its lowest level since 2020. And the headlines are screaming last year, low engagement cost the world economy approximately $10 trillion in lost productivity, or 9% of GDP. Let me get just your initial thoughts, because I know you are an engagement Gallup nerd like me. Just give me your initial thoughts and then we'll go into the detail.
My initial thoughts, it just makes me a little sad. It makes me sad. I'm not necessarily surprised because there's a lot going on in the world, but it does make me sad.
Yeah, I thought you might say that actually. Well, let's have a quick look, and you can go to page 7 of the report. And this is the main graphic. They're saying that lower engagement amongst managers accounts for most of the recent downturn in employee engagement. So we're creating a story here, and that story is that managers, that middle managers level, is accounting for our decrease in employee engagement. So the Gallup report is saying very clear we've got a, and has been saying for years, this is not new, that we do have an issue with managers' engagement, and in fact, it's dropped from 27% down to 22%. So a very big drop actually. In 2022, it was 31. 2023, 30% engaged, 24, 27% engaged, and now in 2025, 22% engaged. So a very big drop. Let's go to the Australian and New Zealand statistics, which you can pick up on page 79. And across Australia, not suggestion, but the statistics are saying that our engagement is 21%, that 66% of the Australian workforce that was surveyed is not engaged, and 13% are actually disengaged. There is statistics in our report, you can pick them up for your country, that says daily emotions experienced during a lot of the previous day. 79% of the workforce is stressed, 14% of the workforce is experiencing anger, 21% of the workforce experience sadness, and 14% of the workforce experiencing loneliness. Interestingly, when it comes to life evaluation, 55% of the people surveyed in Australia and New Zealand said, from a life evaluation point of view, 55% said they were thriving, with 42% saying they were struggling and 3% saying they're suffering. So if we're trying to get in behind the headlines here, what I'm starting to find is a picture that says we have a global concern with engagement, but we have stress levels where 49% of people in the workplace experience stress. So we're not talking like normal stress, which we all experience. We're talking about stress that leads to underperformance, and 14% experiencing anger or sadness. Those statistics, now they're not mutually you could be experiencing stress and anger and sadness, all of, you could have not just one of those things, but all of those things happening for you. So we won't add them up and say, there's a total of the workforce there. But there's something real going on here in our workplaces. The other thing I wanted to let you know, and Paula, this is where I will get your opinions now as well. Going in behind the headlines of the report, this year's report is highly orientated towards AI and the adoption of artificial intelligence. And the report makes it really clear that our managers that we coach and we're leading, and there's many of you on the line as well, that managers are responsible and will be directly responsible for the implementation of AI in the workplace, and they will be the blockers. So if AI in our workplaces doesn't roll out the way that we want it to, then we could look at managers and what they're doing, because they're saying that AI adoption in the workplaces, managers will mostly be responsible for that. Now, I'm kind of paraphrasing the report here, and I'm also interpreting it. But the more that I read the report, that's the kind of message that I'm getting. So the problem I have, and as I said, I'll turn to you for a minute, Paula, is that, and you can tell me whether this makes any sense at all. We have we have a real concern with with engagement in our workforces, and we have a real concern with managers and their engagement. And we know, and we're talking about global here, and we're talking about Australia here, and it's across the globe. So there'll be some organizations that are doing this really well. So we are only talking about the global indicators here. But we have managers potentially in our workforce who are not feeling engaged. And in fact, they're feeling really stressed. And some are feeling anger, sadness, and loneliness. On top of that, we're going to put the whole AI adoption and rollout responsibility on their shoulders, and then, in a way, blame them for AI not being adopted. And I'm not saying that's exactly what the global report's saying, but that is my major concern with this year's report. That the focus on AI adoption, which is absolutely what we need to do, but the link between AI adoption, managers, and how they're feeling and getting on in the workplace and their engagement at the moment, and the link to rollout and success, there's something really wrong here. Paula, please tell me, am I making any sense at all? And on the chat, I'm not sure if I'm making any sense at all. Let me know. Tell me.
Well, I think it actually links to an even bigger problem, which is that we have generated the new generations coming through who are already looking at that manager role and saying, that role doesn't look like fun. I don't want to do that role. And so, if we have got managers who are currently in that role who are stressed and the burnout is high, that we know that it's high in that manager space, and if we give them one more thing to have to manage, it's going to push that higher. And then we will have managers leaving those roles with no one coming through to fill those roles, because the younger generation are looking at it and saying, who wants that stress? For me, it's life before work, and so I don't want to have that stress. So then what do we do at that point?
Yes, yes, I totally agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
really
I
do.
think asking managers to, we've already got people with significantly big roles, and there's reduction of staff to do those roles, and the managers' roles are to manage and lead. And so then if AI is put onto their shoulders as a pass or fail, whether AI gets adopted or not, that's a lot to ask of people. And I worry that the thriving, I mean, I actually am quite happy that I'm quite, um, I'm thinking the fact that people are still thriving if they're not having fun at work means that relationships outside of work are great. But what if that at work starts to impact that thriving outside of work? And that's where I would worry about that too.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And what's interesting to me is that we've had COVID and gone through the whole global pandemic, and we can appreciate the decrease in engagement during that period. But the engagement has continued to drop off. It hasn't turned around. So even though we hypothetically have better workplace conditions with working from home and those kind of things, it hasn't turned around. And now we're putting the entire AI adoption onto people's shoulders. I think, I keep talking about this perfect storm and what we need to do about it as a global collective. And so that's why I'm appreciating the opportunity to have this conversation with so many people across the globe uh, in our alumni all connecting in. And Mark, you've said there, you're definitely seeing that with your clients and online. Online memes, you're saying, why would I put forth the effort? I saw my parents stressed. I saw what happened to other managers. Why would I want that? And that is the generation of leaders, the 30-year-old generations of leaders looking at, or the millennials looking at their parents going, X gens and even the Y gens are totally stressed out. Why would I want that? And it's a really important conversation. Nicole, you've added there's also a lack of skill set around AI, which adds to the stress. Yes, that's why we're holding those webinars around AI about what we need to think about from a coaching point of view, what we need to think about from a leadership point of view. How do we think about ethics in AI? There's a lot to be thinking about. And Mary, thanks for jumping in. You said it's probably continued to drop off because people were enlightened to a slower way of living. Interesting. And workplaces are now bouncing back to requiring the same level of office attendance as pre-COVID with a mountain, I'm going to add to your comment, with a mountain of extra work to do on top of that as well. So yeah, thank you. I'm just glad that I'm not completely going crazy here because when I read the report and when I read the emphasis on AI and the responsibility of managers to ensure the successful rollout of multiple AI initiatives across organizations globally, there was something in my stomach that went, this is going to push people to breaking point. And that's what I'm really concerned about. Okay, let's take a breath. We've talked about what's missing. Let's talk about what we do about it. So, this will be no surprise to anyone on the line that I am going to say there has never been a better time for coaching in our workplaces. Now, the reason I've been sharing this line with so many of you over the past few weeks is I've had the opportunity to reflect on conversations that I had with the late Sir John Whitmore back in 2012 and 2015. I had the opportunity to interview Sir John Whitmore. For those of you that don't know of him, highly regarded as the grandfather of coaching, and the Grow model is attributed to him, even though he didn't come up with the Grow model. Anyway, in my interviews, back in the day, many years ago now, nearly 10 years ago, back in 2012, over 10 years ago now, back in 2012, I had the opportunity to interview him and spend a lot of time with him. And back then in 2012, the world was in crisis. We had several major crises going on in the world at the time, including an extreme uplift in terrorism and fear in our society. So it was a very, very difficult time. And for many people in business, a lot of small businesses went out of business at that time. Now, fast forward to our days today. And back then, I beg your pardon, Sir John Whitmore said, never has there been a better time for coaching. Never has there been a better time for leaders and for managers to be listening, to be engaging, to be asking great questions, to bring out the innovation, bring out the best in the people that they work with, because people don't want to be told what to do, and people want their potential to be tapped and interference to be moved on. So that's what happened back then. And today, fast forward to where we are today, our world, there's crises going on in our world. And I'm just going to echo the words of Sir John Whitmore that never has there been a better time for coaching. Our ability to sit down and connect as humans, as we've talked about through our AI conversations, but our ability as leaders, as managers and coaches to connect as humans, to sit, to hold the space, to ask great coaching questions, to ask people what are they proud of and where are they experiencing challenges and how can we leverage your strengths and 50 million other questions. This is what we need right now. Paula, let me get off my soapbox and let's hear from you because it's I really need to hear from you.
Well, I don't disagree that it's never been a better time for coaching. I mean, with our backgrounds, it's always a great time for coaching. But when I think about the managers, and I was just delivering 2 days of facilitation this week, and what I'm hearing from the managers is that they are time poor. They've often got people that they who are more difficult than it needs to be, and what do they do with that? And they're spending their time there. And then if you're adding additional projects to them from an AI perspective, it really is about that giving. And I talk to them a lot about you are doing the work of others. We need to give that back to the people who need to do the work, and coaching is absolutely the best way to do that. But it's also about connecting to how do we create workplaces where people are happy and want to come to work, and ownership and accountability sits in that space. So coaching fits perfectly. And if we think about AI, what we want to do is not take away the human element for people, because we know that people need that relationships are critical for people. So AI might be able to do functionality, but it can't replace the people and the relationship you have with someone.
Yeah, the human connection, I absolutely agree with you, Paula. And those sentiments that you're talking about, we're experiencing them across the workplace with different organizations we're working with as well. And Greg, you raised a good question there. You said, is it possible that the lack of engagement is related to underlying fear that the adoption of AI will ultimately replace middle management and the workers underneath them? And I think the answer to that question is yes. I've been attending a number of different sessions recently and been doing a lot of research recently, and the fear is real. And in the senior leaders that I've been talking to, that's what they're also expressing about people in their workforce as well. So I think that then relates back to our conversations we're having where let's be experimenters and explorers and look at how AI can augment for those people that listened to our podcast over the last couple of weeks. How does AI augment business processes, etc., rather than replace? Having said that, we know that many processes and many roles are being replaced. So yes, it all of those concerns you're raising and the fears are really real. Mary, you say, interestingly, I read a recent article in the AFR that Gen Z and Alpha are not concerned about AI taking their jobs. So that's interesting as well. So what we're thinking about is nothing new to all of you on the line because you are our part of our coaching and leadership alumni. What we're thinking about is okay, how can we make even continue what we're doing, continue to make even more of a difference in this space in terms of how we hold the space for coaching, how we hold the space for managers, as Greg said, to even talk about those fears and then work on, well, what are the options, solutions, possibilities, etc. And interestingly, the research I've done recently in the Australian Public Service, because there's a lot of you that are on the line that are working in the Australian Public Service, capability is really high and engagement is actually quite high. Where the problems in the APS lie are in, as Paula said, decision making at level, innovation, continuous demands on customer expectations of the Australian Public Service or client and community expectations, and the increased demand in services as well. So if you think about increased community expectations on the public service and on our organisations, if you're thinking about increased demand in services, and then you layer all of this over, then we really do have a perfect storm, which we're all working within. So there's really some things to think about. What I want to leave you with is thinking about getting in under beyond the headlines, thinking about where is the real conversation that we need to have. And of course, it will be no surprise to all of you that that conversation needs to be about how do we bring out the high performance, how do we bring out the strengths of people that we're working with, and how do we hold space from a coaching point of view to enable those conversations. Paula, final comments from you?
I think it's one of those, now is the time that organizations really need to invest in their leadership
Mm.
of their people, and really build that coaching capability. I think that's what they're going to need in order to be resilient and to be able to move forward with it. So often in these times, the leadership less money is spent, but I think this is the time where that investment is going to pay off long term.
Absolutely. And there's many organizations we're talking to where that investment is being made. And so that is very, very good to hear. And I didn't pay you for this, Paula, but if you would like to make an investment, then now is a really good time to think about our certificate for in workplace and business coaching, to think about the diploma in leadership and coaching for those of you that want to come back and do some more study. And of course, we have executive coaching happening here. Well, we want to thank you all for participating in this conversation. Please feel free to download the report. Let's keep the conversation going about where we need to position ourselves in terms of coaches, in terms of managers, in terms of leaders. And as we say, as always, we welcome you and the conversation, and we say, enjoy your coaching. We'll say goodbye for now.